So guys, hello and welcome to 7 Days of Sanguinius.
7 Days of Sanguinius starts here.
Starts here. In the very first unboxing we're going to cover the new Baal Predator model, which we've been having a good look at over the past couple of days.
Nice kit.
So what we'll do is we'll have a little chat about the unit itself.
Yep.
We'll open up the box and we'll show you what makes the Baal Predator.
Yeah.
What it is then. So, Warren, if you want to give a little bit of an explanation to the Baal.
The Baal Predator is only used by the Blood Angels and their successor chapters, so like Flesh Terrors and whatnot. The idea behind it is that the Blood Angels at some point in the past captured the STL, the standard STC, the standard template construct file for this, and didn't hand it over to the Adeptus Mechanicus, who normally take care of building all this stuff. They actually kept it for themselves. So they're the only chapter, they're the only people in the entire 40k universe who actually get to use the Baal Predator. Now, a couple of interesting things about it. First is, for anybody that doesn't know what an STC is, a standard template construct, just to give you a little bit of background. Every vehicle that the Imperium has is built basically from a standard template construct file. So they find these files, okay? They plug these files into the big manufacturing plants on Mars or wherever else that they've built them. And then basically it churns out Land Raiders, Land Speeders, Rhinos, and things like that. An interesting thing on Land Raiders and Land Speeders is that the STCs for those vehicle types were actually discovered by Professor Land. Hence why it was called the Land Raider and the Land Speeder.
That's an interesting way to name it.
It's a useless piece of information for you, but there you go. So Professor Land discovered those. Now the idea was that these STCs date back to when man was populating basically the galaxy.
The first time round.
Yes. And what they had was, they said, look, we're going to be sending out shiploads of people all over the galaxy.
Yep.
By the time they get there, to these various places, it's going to be just the offspring of the offspring that are going to land on these planets. A lot of knowledge is going to be forgotten. So what we'll do is we have these basically onboard manufacturing plants that come down in the ships, and they can just put out vehicles of any description based on these files that they had. So like Land Raiders and things like that there, although we're used to seeing them as weapons, Land Raiders were basically like tractors used for farming and construction work, as well as weapon patterns.
Yeah.
So all these STCs have been lost throughout the millennia, this dark age of strife period.
Age of strife, dark age of technology, and
all that malarkey.
old night.
So you have the Adeptus Mechanicum, who are like the grease monkeys of the Imperium.
The extreme grease monkeys.
Yeah. No, the whole idea of this Adeptus Mechanicum is that they worship technology because they think technology itself, they don't understand it completely.
So they worship it.
So they worship it. So the whole, where you see the machine spirit in Land Raiders, basically that's AI, but because they don't completely understand it, they kind of worship it. So they call it like the machine spirit. So they basically have search parties out throughout the galaxy looking for these STCs. And then whenever they find an STC, bang, that's the point where you get a new vehicle.
Yep.
Now, two interesting things then for the Blood Angels. One is this Storm Raven is an STC that has basically been discovered and has apparently been kept hidden until it's been tested thoroughly, or has been lost in the bureaucracy of the Imperium. But other than that, then this Baal Predator was an STC, as I said, that was captured by the Blood Angels, and they didn't hand it over to the Adeptus Mechanicus, they kept it for themselves. And one of the great things from it, and this is what has shaped the fluff basically for the Blood Angels, was that the Baal Predator had overcharged engines.
Yes.
So it was based on the Rhino chassis, as the Predator, the Baal Predator, the Rhino, the Vindicator, and the Razorback all are based on the Rhino chassis. So it had these overcharged engines, which was great for the Blood Angels because they're a fast-moving attack assault army. So they're going in, and they need their tanks to keep up. So they kept this and then they took the knowledge that they learned from it and retrofitted it to their other kind of tanks or rhinos, their razorbacks, their vindicators, so they're all fast as well. Anyway, there endeth the fluff lesson.
Yeah, right. So as this is an unboxing, we should probably unbox this, shouldn't we?
Yes, I think so, yep.
When we've had enough of the fluff lesson. So let's move under to close cam. And what we're looking at here is basically 2 sprues that are actually going to be your standard Predator sprues.
Yes.
So there's only one sprue in this that creates the Baal.
Yeah, this is the rhino sprues.
This is the rhino / razorback / Predator, even vindicator sprues.
This is the bog standard 2 sprues, so there's no change there.
So you're just looking at hull side interior, rear entry and exit ramp. We have a set of track, which is enough track sitting there to do one side of the hull. We also have the front plate, but that'll be replaced on the Baal because there's a different one for it. We have an outer hull plate as well. And if I get down to the corner of the sprue, that's the mount for the turret. But if we flip it over, it's the proper mount for the Predator turret, if I can find it back under close cam. There we are. So that's the side that the Baal Predator's turret will be mounted on. And there's a couple of side hatches, but we don't need to concern ourselves with those.
No.
And same on the other sprue, just everything else that you need to build. So you've got your track, you've got hatches that aren't required for the Baal, and you've got the hull sides as well. So on to the interesting bit.
Yes, this is basically the Baal Predator sprue, and it is jam-packed with stuff. Like, I mean, there is loads on this.
Absolutely. So let's try and start from the beginning. So we have 2 different types of bustle for the back of the turret.
I love these.
Yep.
I love this one, okay? Because what you're actually seeing there are ammunition rounds, all stacked up.
For the assault cannon.
In fact, if we can actually see on the back of this, hopefully this will be in focus for you.
May not, but... Oh, it's not. Yeah,
it's
fine.
Not too bad, okay? But there, you can see it all painted up, which I just think that is super.
Definitely, and it makes a huge improvement on the old metal kit that they had.
It was a nightmare to work with.
The molding on it was rubbish.
Yeah.
It was a quick fix basically for the Baal. So yes, we have our 2 different bustles for the turret. Sliding along here, we have 2 big ammunition boxes for the sponson heavy bolters. Moving across from that, we have a new addition to the Baal in this edition of the Codex. We've got the Flamestorm cannon.
Yes.
And this, I think, is going to make the Baal the fire-breathing dragon of 40k.
I think so. The Flamestorm cannon, strength 6, AP3, heavy 1. Template, yep. I just think, it fits with the whole fluff of it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, I think the salamanders would love this. Only they ain't going to get it.
Yes, thankfully.
They ain't going to get it. But I love the whole idea. Assault armies and flamers just go together so well. And I just love the whole idea of fitting out a Baal Predator based on the Flamestorm cannon pattern.
Well, with that and the fact that it's, as per the old Codex, it can take sponson mounted heavy flamers. This is a tank that cannot miss.
No, it can't.
Ballistic skill goes out the window.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You just roll it in. It's fast, okay?
Yep, it's a fast vehicle.
It's a fast vehicle, so you roll it the full 12 inches and just fire.
Yep.
Dead orcs, dead marines everywhere.
With that Flamestorm being AP3, everyone knew the fascination of the Redeemer when it first came out, when it had 2 of them.
Yeah.
So.
And this is certainly cheaper than a Redeemer. Your Baal Predator is fast attack. Remember the Baal Predator. And it's coming in 115 points, John.
Base 115?
Base 115 points to Flamestorm cannon for free. Okay.
You switch your assault cannons for free.
And heavy flamers, 25 points. So 140 points.
Yeah.
140 points of badass.
Yeah. Anyway.
To quote 40K radio.
Oh yes, good old Spencer. So moving along, we have more standardized parts here. We've got the cupola for the top of the turret with the commander's hatches there. We also have, let me see, sides for the actual weapon segment, the actual weapon mount.
Yep.
These are the parts where the spent cases would fall out of the assault cannon, basically.
Yes.
And we also have the main gun cowling as well, which will carry the assault cannons. I believe it will also carry the...
And there's where you see the
cannon.
first of the actual Blood Angels iconography, which is, unfortunately, it's the only complaint I have about this sprue, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We have gripes, but there's few kits that you can't gripe about, really.
Yeah.
So we have other parts for the weapon mounts, for the main gun mounts. We have the optional missile launcher, which is sort of the obligatory add-on to any sort of tank,
Yes.
really, in 40k. Moving along, if I can keep it in shot, John, would be handy. We have the twin-linked assault cannons. Now this is a nice little, well, it's obviously a huge improvement on the metal ones. We should all know that if anyone's built one before. But these come in two halves, and when they glue together, there's another part which is further up the sprue. If I can get this one under close for you, here you can see the actual barrel ends which clip over the ends of the barrels, so there's no more worrying about having to drill out the gun barrels afterwards.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do that on this model. Now, if I can find where I was on the sprue before, we're there, so we need to flip the sprue back over and look at another piece of Blood Angels iconography that we've got. There. So that's, some of the iconography is quite nice.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It is. Over the body again, here we have the fuel tanks for the Flamestorm cannon. Now these replace the bustle for the assault cannon ammunition.
Yes.
On the back of the turret.
Yeah, if you're going with the Flamestorm cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they look very bulky and very cool, I think. Further across we have the Sponson heavy flamers. Further on a bit more we have the Storm Bolter, another obligatory add-on basically.
Yep.
And we have the top of the turret for the Baal. So moving down we have the two Sponson mounts, the two Sponson plates. That's basically standard Predator. If you've built a Predator, you know exactly what those are. We have the heavy bolters as well. I think you'd be kind of foolish taking heavy bolters on this thing.
I don't know. You know, that 24-inch range.
No, it's 36.
Sorry, 36-inch range. You could come in handy. You move 24, or sorry, you move 12, and then you have 36-inch range. You know, if you're trying to get a few shots in there and thin them out before your actual assault troops get to that stage in the next turn, you know, it might be useful. It might be useful. My own preference is for the flamers. You know, because I just love the idea of getting it into combat and just ripping all around me. But I wouldn't discount it. Myself and Daryl will certainly be having a long old chat about the Baal Predator and the best fit out options we see for it.
Yep.
But looking at this, John, does it look like it's going to be pretty easy to swap out?
I would say no.
We'll find out during the build video anyway to see if it's possible to swap them out. If we can find a way to make them swappable, I think we'll try that. But at first glance, the kit doesn't look particularly geared up to swapping out bits and pieces. No,
not particularly. So further along here, we've got the base of the weapon mount for the main gun, and we have the base of the turret. Sliding up, so what else have we got here? We've got the driver's vision slot, those end of the barrels for the assault cannons like I showed you. We have the two top hinged plates for the back of the bustle that takes the assault cannon ammunition, so you can have those open or closed.
Yeah, open, keep them open, or keep one open. Yep.
We have the modified front plate, the glasses plate, I think, if I remember the term right. And this is the modified one for the Baal, which gives you a nice big open area to put some of the iconography there if you wish. We have parts for the sponsons, the actual top plates for the sponsons where all the mechanics are glued onto. And we have more mechanical parts for the sponsons, the actual weapon mounts, the parts that actually rotate. And we have parts of our commander as well. Now, Warren's been saying all these bareheaded guys look like they need blonde hair.
Yeah, but do you know what? This is where the Blood Angels are kind of getting a bit Blue Lagoon, Pink Pussycat for me, because you know it's To use a bit of rhyme and slang that we like to use in here, I think the Blood Angels are now taking over from the Ultramarines as the ginger beer army of 40k. All that's missing off these heads with the blonde hair is a big black moustache, a big Freddie Mercury moustache. And I can just see squads of these guys, with their thunder hammers in their hands and big black moustaches. I don't know. We fitted out our Terminator squads with the blonde head guys. I don't know if we'll do them blonde. I'm just not a big fan. I'm just not a fan. I just think they look like little boys encased in power armor. They don't have that ruggedness. They look like a bunch of pretty boys. That is it. That's me on the Blood Angels. I think they've been modeled as a bunch of pretty boys. You look at the Sanguinary Guard, which we'll be unboxing shortly, and you keep an eye out for that. They have nipples on their power armor. Now, I know the Greeks had nipples on their armor, but we all know about the Greeks. They're pretty boys. They really are. Rant over. I just think they're too pretty. So, I know we did our Terminators with those heads, but I just think it looks weird. Moving on.
You just haven't read enough of the Heresy novels to actually know.
No, I haven't got to that stage yet.
While I'm on Thousand Suns, you're on...
Fulgrim.
Yep.
And I'm enjoying Fulgrim, but I take longer, John, because I appreciate the writing. I enjoy the story. You guys just flick through it. But nothing, I don't think anything in the novels is going to convince me that the Blood Angels aren't a pack of pretty boys.
Yeah, okay. Moving on. Going to ignore him now. We have a couple of the shoulder plates for our commander. Like I said, we have the head option. So we have a bear head with like a breather grill, and we have a regular helmet which has a few small details in the shape of a couple of blood drops across the forehead.
Yeah, and the bear head has nicely parted blonde hair.
Yep. So,
spin over, do the shoulder pads have Blood Angels iconography on them?
One of them does.
Excellent.
One of them has quite a nice big part on it here, if I can actually find it under close cam again. I'm nearly there.
There we go.
There we go. So yeah, we have this one that has the big blood drop with the wings on it. We just have to slide further along the sprue here, and we're just at the end of the sprue. So we've got our smoke launchers. Yep. And then we have another piece of iconography. I can get back to it. There we are. So we have another couple of pieces of iconography sitting there. This one you'll recognize from the White Dwarf pictures. That's the one that everyone's seen. And another one that has a blood drop going into skull-faced chalice.
Yes.
Which is another one of the Blood Angels sort of pretty big icons next to the blood drop in the wings.
Absolutely.
What else have we got? Well, we have the igniter sort of pilot lights for the Flamestorm cannon.
Yeah.
Because the other guys, the heavy flamers, have that on. So there's two options there. So there must be an option to flip for either side, but we'll see that when we come to the build.
Yeah.
We've basically covered it then.
Yeah, that is the big sprue for the Baal Predator. Now, I was going to gripe a little bit about it because...
Initially you thought there was a lack of iconography.
Yeah, initially I wanted more iconography on it that I could use on the rest of the vehicles. Okay, you as you'll see during Blood Week, one of the big themes for the 7 Days of Sanguinius is we built a Blood Angels army from scratch, just so as we'd have something to show you. Yeah. Okay, and it's a big army.
Yep, we lost a lot of sleep.
We have lost a lot of sleep. Yep. And still are losing a lot of sleep. But one of the things we had originally intended, we had thought about going to Forge World and buying a bucket load of Forge World parts to make it more in keeping with the Blood Angels. But the more we discussed it in here, the more we thought, what, we're not going to do that. Because, a lot of you guys out there, at least 30-40% of you, Forge World's not a massively viable option. Yeah. By the time you take into account the delivery charges or the length of time to get something delivered, it's not a massively viable option. So what we've been trying to do is to work with the new kits and see if we can work with what comes in them to spread it across the old kits. So my gripe has been that It's not a gripe. They've done well. How many pieces of iconography are on that? There looks to be 3 or 4 pieces of good iconography on it.
We've got 3 big pieces of iconography for what are supposed to be for the front plate of this model.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got one Baal model, you're only going to be putting one of those pieces on, really, and then
Yeah,
you've got
so you've another
others,
2.
two others to spread across a rhino or something.
You know, GW, this is the thing on this, right? And I got to be careful here because I don't want to sound like I'm bitching on the model, because the model's great and they have added 3 pieces of an iconography on there, and the sprue is jam packed.
Yeah.
So I can't really gripe. There's a couple of extra pieces on it. I just wish there was more. Mm-hmm. But knowing the production, the challenges that go into even getting that amount of stuff on it. Although I wish there was more, I accept they did a fantastic job on that sprue. Mm-hmm. You'd look, John, at this sprue compared to either of these sprues, and you can start to see the difference of how tightly packed stuff is.
And you can see, well,
this is the CAD process that is making these differences.
Yeah.
This new CAD process that they have put in is allowing them to come out with a sprue that has it's so densely populated that there's nowhere else that they could put iconography on that. There really isn't. They could maybe have fitted a couple of small bits. Do you know, one of my favorite bits actually comes off the drop pod sprue. The little wing and droplet that is off the drop pod sprue. If they could have fitted 4 or 5 of them on there, I would have been going 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. At the moment, I'm a 9 out of 10 on this, because I'm tempted to give it just a straight 10 out of 10 anyway, because it's so tightly packed. Yes, there's 3 good bits of iconography on there that you could spread around the rest of your tanks, because that's what you need. Mm-hmm. And Space Wolves gave us that from a troops point of view.
Yep.
The other 2 boxes that you're going to see gave us that from a troops point of view, but we wish there was more.
Yep.
And this, I just wish that there was a bit more of the smaller pieces of iconography that you could have smattered around the vehicles, absolutely, to try and just to theme your army a little bit more without necessarily having to resort to the Forge World approach.
Yep.
But the Forge World approach is gorgeous, and if you're going to go that way, the end result will be stunning. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to go that route and you want to stick to what you can get handily in your local friendly game store, mm-hmm, or online easily, then you're kind of relying on what they can fit into these. So for me, I think it's a super kit, and I can't wait to see the Baal Predator in action. I really am looking forward to watching your build video on this. What about you? What's your take on it?
I think it's a solid 9, possibly a 10.
Yeah.
I'm more looking at it from the model design point of view rather than the finished product.
Yeah.
Where I'm saying, like, okay, what do I need now? I need sponson parts. Well, there's some here, some here, some here, and a couple of little bits and pieces spattered throughout. But the sprue, it's one of the
you're not massively happy with the layout. You think it could have been laid out to make it a bit easier that things were grouped together?
I will tell you what, though, it is a lot nicer laid out than some of the other sets that are out there.
Yeah.
What one am I thinking, for example? Going back to Space Wolves, the Wolfpack box.
Yeah.
You don't really know what you're building when you open the box. You're
Yes.
looking at it, and then you have to look at the codex and go, right, is this Wolf Guard? What goes into Wolf Guard?
Yeah.
And what goes into Grey Hunters? And then there's never enough to make the whole box into one thing, as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah,
it was a lot poorer laid out than this. This I can instantly see. There's my Flamestorm. There's my bustle. There's my turret. There's my front plate.
Yeah.
There's my sponson weapons. It's there.
Well, you take another one that was pretty spread out with the drop pod kit. The drop pod kit had parts that were spread throughout all the sprues. I think it's part of the manufacturing process. There's not a lot we can hammer them for on that. It's when you're laying out a sprue, because I've never done it, but I do know a little bit of what's involved in it. It's a lot more than just saying, this is the bit of plastic here. They have to take into account pressures in the actual manufacturing process. When this is all being injection molded, you've got to watch out for undercuts, because when it comes out, it would just snap the bits off the mold.
Yep.
And you've got to watch out for pressures. The pressure throughout the actual mold has to be kept relatively even all the way through. So there is reasoning behind all of this. There's a science to it. But their software programs and whatnot are helping them out with that. But, it is nice to have a lot of it on the one sprue.
Yeah.
What's the instruction manual like, John?
We have it over there.
As always, one of the key things in any kit I'm looking at these days is just how well laid out the instruction manual is. And John, if you want to take them through a couple of bits, it looks to be pretty clear and pretty straightforward.
Yep. As the Games Workshop stuff has been going recently, since the release of the Imperial Guard stuff,
yes,
we've had this nice 3D rendered instruction manual.
They're so much better now than what they were.
Yeah.
Now you actually have step-by-step on how to build these. Whereas, a year ago, John, it was guesswork, most of it.
Yeah, it was. But a lot of those manuals are still floating about. You buy a Razorback, it's still the same manual you had 4 or 5 years ago. But this is definitely, the quality of the manuals now is definitely going up. It's actually showing you final assemblies properly.
Yeah.
Yes, you're still probably going to find the odd error. I mean, I haven't looked through this enough yet to see if there is any. Mm-hmm. But, no manual's perfect. Even in the professional modeling world, no manual's perfect.
No. Because it's a difficult thing to do. That is as difficult to lay out an actual instruction booklet as it is to design and build the model itself.
Exactly.
So, anyway, John, that about covers it for me, mate. I'm delighted with it. I think a few Baal Predators are definitely going to make their way into our house Blood Angels army. Mm-hmm. If anything, for the additional bits that we won't use, just to get a bit more Blood Angels theme across some of the rhinos and vindicators and things like that, that I just think it's a great kit. I think it'll serve any Blood Angel player well.
Absolutely. Well, it's about time that we started to see all these plastics coming out now anyway. Because the old Baal, it showed its age.
Yeah.
The old Baal Predator really did show
But this
its
is the way GW are going with this, and I like it. I like it a lot. We have seen a lot of Space Marine stuff being renewed. I'm suffering a little bit with Space Marine fatigue at the moment. I want to start seeing some of the other armies get some love. But when they do it, they are doing it right. They are definitely giving you what you need to make your army fit the fluff. They're giving you the ability to really customize and convert that army. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to see. That's always what we wanted to see.
Yep. Well, as always, then it's time to pass it over to you guys. Let us know what you think by putting it in the comments below. Any reasons why you don't like it? It'd be interesting to hear. Because there's always gripes out there.
Yeah.
There's always gripes. Doesn't matter how good the product is in our eyes. So put your comments below. Hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys. Right, we didn't exactly keep it quick. 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.